Hello friends, it's been a long time since I recorded a video. I've only been streaming, with any videos being guest spots or collaborations. Today, there's a reason not to wait. If I stream later, you'll forget. 1,000 new things will happen, and that's what we'll discuss today. Intelligence Chief Kirill Budanov gave a long interview to Natalia Moseichuk. And I wrote down a few points for myself that need to be discussed in detail, which is exactly what we're going to do now. Let's begin as usual in order. Thesis number 1. Russia is preparing for war with NATO, launching the largest rearmament program since the 1980s, and plans to spend about $1 trillion on this by 2030. The main part of the funding will also be deployed by that time. Let's figure it out. I thoroughly checked this information first. No one in the whole world, including here in America, has ever confirmed this information or mentioned it before Kirill Budanov. Secondly, if President Trump imposes any significant sanctions, meaning tougher than what Biden did, then the outlook for the Russian economy gets much worse. Yes, Putin is spending a lot, around 6 or 6.3% of gross domestic product on defense, about $1.1 trillion. Let's compare that to Russia's military budget. If I'm correct, this year's military spending is about $170 billion. Budanov says rearmament will be completed within 5 years, by the 30th year. But the lot doesn't add up here. It looks more like another attempt to scare and intimidate people. So that you stay in fear. So that the thought doesn't even cross your mind that it would be good to plan a normal life. Like when the war is over, work, business, leisure, life. No, you have to think about death, live in constant fear, basically spend your whole life with the thought that Putin will attack. So you shouldn't plan anything, you shouldn't count on anything, only war. It's 2025 now. He says there are 5 years left until 2030. A 15-year-old now sits, and by 20, instead of focusing on self-fulfillment, he's expected to wait for Putin's war. A young man in his career prime, whether 25 or 35, must also consider that things may not work out for him. A person who is 55 or 60 years old, oh, I'm going to be 60 or 65, won't really have a pension because there will be a war. Well, you see, this is just real mockery of the people. But who is right and who is wrong, of course, time will tell. The next point is that no matter what changes, at the head of the Russian Federation, the very structure of power will remain stable, and future leaders will act within the established system. Even if Putin leaves, nothing drastic will happen. Reforms are impossible in a system that is built on imperatives. So I absolutely disagree with this point. And I've already told you several times that until the end of President Trump's term. There is a global plan not to remove dictators, particularly post-Soviet ones. There is a specific plan for United States actions regarding world order, and as these factors combine and are implemented, dictatorships will collapse. The only dictatorship I can't guarantee anything about for you is China. But if we're talking about the post-Soviet leaders like Putin, Lukashenko, Zelensky, or the Ayatollah regime, all of this will be gone by 29th year, but the Ayatollah will be gone earlier, and Zelensky too before 29th year. The very last one will be Putin, but trust me, 2029 is his last year. And then there will be transformations in Russia, which our country will also have to go through. Russia is called a federation, but really it's Putin in charge, just like Zelensky leads Ukraine. Although the Republic appoints the governor manually, the position in Russia is not elected. In fact, it's only a federation on paper. Russia would also pass for one, but it needs a huge decentralization reform. In Russia, just like in China, by the way, there are elites who can't stand the current government. Yes, they've adapted, yes, they're making money, but they're waiting for the moment when this regime can be ended. And Russia will become a liberal country, or at least a more liberal one. Honestly, it's hard to guarantee anything here. And civilized, let's call it a civilized country, one that won't attack its neighbors and will live in a completely different paradigm, not focused on a resource-based economy. Well, I don't want to talk about it now, let the Russians worry about that. I'm just telling you that these are, again, some fantasies of Kirill Budanov, who, just like in the first point, wants to tell you not to wait for Putin to die. Wait, was it Kirill Budanov? In 2022, and in 2023, he kept insisting that Putin had cancer, not just one, and that Putin was about to die. Now you understand that it was just blatant lies, pulling the wool over your eyes. Today, he comes out with a completely different thesis. Don't wait for Putin's death. Even if Putin dies, nothing will change in Russia, and a big war awaits us ahead. But please make a note of this. Let's move on to the next section. Budanov said United States policy could cause NATO to collapse, clarifying this isn't inevitable but is possible if current trends persist. He said he doesn't fully trust large international alliances and prefers bilateral relations. We'll split this section into two parts. First, United States policy might cause NATO to collapse. This risk existed, if we can think in those terms, this risk existed at the beginning of Trump's presidency. Because during his election campaign, and everyone remembers his previous term, he actively pressured NATO. It is now agreed that, if I'm correct, all NATO countries will increase their NATO contributions to 5% of gross domestic product by 2035. Some are only paying 2 or 3%, which isn't enough. Everyone should pay 5%, as agreed. This was approved at a recent summit with Ryuto. These are just fantasies. Why is he saying that? But in reality, this is the narrative of intelligence officers. Let's repeat it so you don't lose the thread. Russia is preparing for war with NATO, spending at least $1 trillion on rearmament. Are you expecting a war? If Putin dies or something changes in Russia, if there are any shifts in power there, the concept will still be the same. NATO will fall apart. There will be no one to protect you, so get ready for war. Alright, I'll read the second part of this section again. He said he doesn't fully trust large international alliances and prefers bilateral relations. But here I agree with him. I also don't trust alliances, especially here. Everyone seeks alliances, unions, and partnerships with the strong and wealthy. Ukraine is weak and poor. That's how it works. And of course, it's like we're always asking to join somewhere, and they always respond so tactfully, diplomatically. Not today, you're a good guy, but not today, you know? So I don't know if it happened by accident, which is unlikely, or if he planned it that way, or maybe it's already preparation for the fact that Ukraine won't be in NATO, like a shift in direction. They kept repeating stories about NATO, but I was nearly alone in saying NATO wouldn't be involved. We should consider neutrality now, and once Putin is gone and things change in Russia, we can revisit joining NATO. And just like Finland and Sweden, quickly, in emergency mode, in just a few months, such short time frames, to join NATO. Maybe someday. He's already saying something like that too. Yes, I also prefer bilateral agreements, which is why I strongly support allied relations with the United States. We have something to offer them, and for us it's just a required program. Considering the geopolitical, historical, and especially ideological factors, Ukraine should join Western civilization and be a capitalist country working with civilized nations. Let's move on. He commented on 4 forecasts by JP Morgan, the Georgian, Israeli, South Korean, and Belarusian ones, and concluded that most of them, especially the Georgian or Belarusian versions, are unlikely to satisfy Ukrainians. Some time ago, I also published this JP Morgan article. It really did analyze these 4 possible options, and according to their forecast, the Georgian option was the one that prevailed. Honestly, I don't really understand what the Georgian option is, especially regarding Budanov. Here he continues further. He called one of these scenarios the Israeli one, meaning Ukraine's desire to become a fortress, undergo rapid military modernization, and strengthen economic and political support from its allies. And let's stop right here at this point and talk about it in more detail. That is, becoming a fortress. Friends, let me put it this way. I'm not making this video just to discuss or criticize Budanov. This is an extremely important political issue. Here we're discussing questions about the future of Ukraine, the people, my own personal future, and ultimately yours as well. That's why we need to speak openly. Someone must say it, and I will. If Ukraine is shaped into a fortress, turned into a fortress, then there will truly be an endless war. Budanov's points show this is how things are, an endless war. Ukraine should become a trading platform between Asia and Europe. As you hopefully saw in the Javier Milei speech I posted,
in fact, the capitalist system is not only the only one system that ensures efficiency, but also the one that promotes peace. There is a very famous phrase by Bastiat, where trade comes, bullets do not come. And moreover, trade creates interdependence and forces us to live in peace. And that's wonderful.
This is what you should focus on if you accept here that Ukraine will be a fortress. This is an endless war. This is the very militarization of society. This is the very militarization of children. Such a country cannot be economically successful. You won't be thinking about how to get a mortgage, build a house, buy an apartment, go to the sea, send your child to study, start a business, or find a good job. All of that will be around you. They will always try to scare you with war. They will always fuel Ukraine with hatred. They will always try to provoke a new military conflict. Be honest with yourself. Do you really need this? Please write in the comments. And by the way, don't forget to subscribe to the channel right away. It's very important. This is about boosting economic and political support from allies. So, what's the immediate focus? I'm saying we need to become an economically independent country and carry out major economic reforms. Radical, fast, very radical, like what Javier Milei is doing in Argentina, and even bolder. We have everything, including political support from our allies. So, once again, let's go begging, let's borrow from everyone, and at the same time try to be a fortress. And then Zelensky will proudly come out and say, Ukraine is the shield of Europe. I don't want to be the shield of Europe, and you don't want to be the shield of Europe. Most likely, not even most likely, but according to analytics, many of you, including those watching this video, live in countries like those in Europe. Well, also Canada and the United States of America, but mostly European countries. You'll just want to, and most likely you'll be in Europe. If some fools want to be a shield, you'll say, go ahead, but just wait. Ukraine is our homeland, I want to live there, I want to return. There are some people who want to return, but not to a fortress and not to a country that will endlessly beg and celebrate it as a national holiday, like it was even in pre-war times. The International Monetary Fund gave €1 billion. Let's celebrate like Argentina when Javier Milei wins. The budget has been in surplus for 6 months after having government spending, and the country now has deflation instead of inflation. Yes, I'm repeating this to you because new viewers are constantly joining, and many people need to hear it again. In order to better absorb the information, we need to lower taxes and record the surge in entrepreneurial activity, in the doing business ranking, or similar ones if they still exist. Rising up is what we should be doing, not building a fortress. Allies, give us everything. From now on, the elections are in your hands. The next point is that without the permanent presence of foreign troops on the territory of Ukraine, he emphasizes that without the presence of foreign troops, this scenario, according to Budanov, is one of the preferred ones. Friends, Ukraine will not be able to become Israel in the sense of living in a constant military conflict successfully for many reasons, some of which I can list for you right now. The first reason is that Israel is a small country, while we have a 1,200-kilometer line of contact with Russia. This is a huge territory, and we will not be able to control the border. We'll discuss these nuances further. Israel is an ally of the United States of America, an ally of the United States of America. The entire philosophy of Israel has historically been shaped around this way of life. That's not the question. They adopted something, changed something, and it worked. This is a historical matter. That's how the country lives. It was founded in 1948, and it has lived this way throughout its entire history. We have a full-scale war going on, and we're all donating. Mindich, Chernyshov, Zelensky, and Cermak stole fortification funds. Well, true or not, what kind of Israel could exist here? They cleared mines from Chonhar and gave up land before the war. Have you ever seen that in Israel, or are you currently at war? Have you seen that in Israel? Everyone is fighting except the officials and their families. Have you seen that in Israel? No, in Israel it's the opposite. First the money, then the chairs. First a magnificent country is built, by the way, like Israel. First a magnificent country is built, and only then do they tell you what you should or shouldn't do for it and how it will all look. Right now they've made the country a corrupt mess, though to be fair it was already that way before. It was Zelensky and Cermak who did this. They just came, took charge, and reached a scale that the previous authorities had never seen. And such a degree of cynicism. No Ukrainian president, not even the worst, ever went this far. It was unimaginable. And on top of everything, they built a dictatorship. There's a war in Israel, yet mass protests against Netanyahu continue with 100,000 people, political banners, and no bloggers, journalists, or political figures have been harmed. What are we even talking about? I could discuss this for an hour. In Israel, the official language is Hebrew and the second is Arabic. In Israel, there are Arab parties in the Knesset and you can speak Arabic even in court. For those who don't understand, everything is translated. That's what Israel is like. They don't politicize these issues there. Here, if you imagine something like that, living here, yes, everyone would leave such a country. It would be a real concentration camp. Look at what's happening in the country right now. Look at how the TCC operates. Do you think they'll have anything different on their minds in this situation? Ukraine needs a completely different way of life and a different vision for the future, a completely different national idea. Well, that's it, to wrap things up. I've read a lot to you, but actually I already mentioned Budanov's predictions and the fairy tales. Do you remember they said they'd have enough missiles? Drink in Crimea, have a snack. And all those other predictions. Tell me, was it me who made those predictions? No, Kirilo Budanov made those. I'm a private citizen. Budanov leads intelligence. And today he comes out and makes these statements about the fortress and everything else. Today, there was news that 14-year-old children will be prepared for national resistance starting at the age of 14. I recently read on a Telegram channel, by the way, I posted it myself, so subscribe, that Hamas terrorists are now forming a battalion of 13 and 14-year-old children. Yeah, I even posted the photo on Telegram. I can't do it here because it's the kind of thing YouTube doesn't like. They could block the video, so go to Telegram and check it out. That's how it is. I make connections right away. In Israel, children aren't militarized. It's very different. And you shouldn't set unrealistic or harmful goals. We are all different people with different talents, weaknesses, and destinies. It's the same with countries. You can't just make another country exactly the same, just like that, just because you want to. Key historical and religious events. Remember, Israel is a religious country without a constitution. I'm sure most viewers, maybe 80 or 90%, didn't know this. Ukraine is a secular state, and debating this for hours is pointless. It's an absurd concept. You can't even cover all of Ukraine with air defense anyway. Israel is small and has an excellent Iron Dome system. America supplied air defense and their own systems, covering everything with these inventions. During the war with Iran, other countries also helped shoot down missiles. The territory is vast, similar to Ukraine. Well, it's just absurd and clearly a lie from the start. Who is right? Who is wrong? I repeat once again, time will tell. Budanov will be right. Well, I'll note that in a few years you'll see Budanov was right. But if I turn out to be right, Budanov definitely will never admit it. Thank you for watching this video until the end. Subscribe to the channel, I guarantee you won't regret it, and leave your comments. Your feedback matters to me. I've shared my thoughts. Now I want to hear yours. Thank you. See you.